I'm gonna explain to you how billionaires, philosophers, scientists, and basically how the greatest people in human history think. Now, no, this is not a shiny video, and no, I'm not a billionaire or a scientist or a philosopher or really as great as any of these people we're gonna talk about, but I have studied for years how these people think, how their minds work, what they think about, right? And I think I found that I read tons and tons of biographies about people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Leonardo da Vinci, right? Einstein. So, and I think I found like the answer of, how these people actually think, right? And yes, like I said, this is not a shiny video. This is not like the top 10 ways to be the best version of yourself or whatever. But if you can understand this, I'm telling you, you will absolutely destroy everyone. If you can understand how these people think, how the greatest people in history think, you will literally destroy everyone. So I'm going to explain how these people think. Now, from what I've learned, from reading tons of biographies about billionaires, emperors, conquerors, scientists, philosophers, etc., right, is that the way all these great people think is through things known as mental models. Now, mental models are basically just frameworks we use to make sense of the universe or to think, basically. So I'm going to give you like so many examples, and I'm going to explain this like very autistic, simple detail, right? So yeah, I'm gonna explain this, and this is gonna sound like very boring, but I promise you, if you can just understand this, like, you will literally obliterate everyone. Like, you will destroy everyone, literally, right? You'll run through all these people if you can just understand how the greatest people in history think. Now, for example, a great mental model is inversion thinking, and this was popularized by Charlie Munger, who was literally one of the richest people in history, right? Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, and then Alex Hormozy learned it from them, and he really popularized it, right? Inversion thinking is basically, instead of thinking, like, how do I succeed, or how do I become a millionaire, or how do I become the best version of myself, you invert it. You think, okay, how do I become the worst version of myself? What do I have to do to become that? And you really think about it. Really think about this with me, bro. Like, how, if you wanted to be the worst version of yourself, what would you do? I would sleep late, wake up late, never exercise, eat the worst food ever, play video games, waste tons of time, watch porn, have no order whatsoever, like, because order is gonna make me better, right? So I'm gonna always have a different day, and I'm always gonna have chaos in my day. What else? And I'm never ever gonna learn or read books. Why read books? Because they're so boring. I'm just gonna focus on entertainment and watch like these very entertaining TikToks and Instagram reels or whatever, right? I'm never gonna go out in nature. I'm never gonna speak to other people and talk to them, right? So you see what I mean? Like, we're trying to be the worst. Like, how do I become the worst version of myself? But I'll probably never take care of my hygiene, right? Just stink and be disgusting. And then, instead of doing that, I'm just gonna flip it. So how do I become the best version of myself? Well, I just reverse engineer the worst version of myself. So I'm gonna take care of my hygiene. I'm gonna shower every day. I'm gonna brush my teeth. I'm gonna do all these hygienic practices, right? I'm gonna be grateful. I'm gonna spend time in nature. I'm gonna go out of my house. I'm gonna talk to people. I'm gonna focus on education as much as I can, not on entertainment. I'm gonna cut out all entertainment, and I'm just gonna focus on learning and education. I'm gonna have a routine, not chaos in my life. I'm gonna exercise. I'm gonna eat healthy food. I'm gonna have great sleep, right? So we invert. We always invert. That's what Charlie Munger says, right? Invert, always invert. So if you want to literally win at anything, like this, all you need is just this mental model. It's just inversion. Like, instead of thinking, how do I be the best at this thing, think, how do I be the worst at this thing? And then you just reverse engineer that to become the best. Like, does that make sense? Another great mental model that billionaires use all the time and scientists and philosophers use all the time is thinking from first principles. And this is absolutely brilliant, right? This is basically just breaking everything down to what is the objective core truth of this discipline. So, for example, like a first principle is just the objective base truth, like the base we build everything on in a discipline. And a discipline is just like a field of study. Like, what do you learn about? For example, the first principle of psychology is pain avoidance. Right? Think about that. Everything we do ever as human beings is to avoid pain, and Freud figured that one out, right? You know, so literally everything we do is to just avoid pain. Every single thing we ever do, like going to the toilet is to avoid pain of, you know, holding it in, right? Like eating is to avoid the pain of being hungry. Drinking is to avoid the pain of being thirsty. Like everything we do, like driving a car, is to avoid the pain of, you know, having to walk and give out energy, right? All we have in this world is just time and energy. Like literally all you have as a biological individual is energy and time. That's all you have, right? For example, the first principle of making money is value exchange. It's just exchanging value. Like, you give me value and I will give you money. It's just that simple. Like, think about it. Like, every single thing you bought in your entire life, you gave money for, was because it was valuable. Like, and value, what is value? Value is just alleviating pain. And if you break it down to the core first principles, it's just solving problems. So when you solve problems, you will get money in return. And the thing about first principles is, like, these are objective truths of the universe that will never ever change. Like, this is something that will never change. Like, we will always do everything to avoid pain. We will always give money to value, to solving problems. That's how money is made. Like, if you bought a water bottle, it's because you were thirsty. It's because it alleviated your pain and you gave the person money in return, right? I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. Like, for example, Amazon. Right? Amazon right now is like $1 trillion company, multi-trillion-dollar company. But basically the first principles of Amazon, right, is that Jeff Bezos found that, what do people want? People want things that are, people want to buy things that are fast, cheap, and variety. So they basically want everything, and they want it to be as cheap as possible and as fast as possible. And that is basically, like, if you imagine Amazon like a pyramid, that is what that's like the base of the pyramid, is fast, cheap, and variety, basically, like having tons and tons of options for that thing. And that's what Amazon is built on, right? And that's what made Amazon $1 trillion company, for example, right? Another example is Elon Musk. Like, Musk, for example, when he started Tesla, he found out that the batteries for electric cars are so expensive. So what he did is he broke down the battery of the car to the first principles. Like if you break it down to the first principles, like, how do you make a battery? Like, all you need is just copper and metals, and, you know. And what he did is he basically, like, this is literally what he did. He got, like, the copper and the metal and all the wires or whatever. I don't really know how to make a battery, but he got basically all the materials you need to make a battery, and he created the batteries for the electric cars himself. Like, himself, he created the batteries. So instead of the battery being like $5,000, for example, he created it for just like $50. Like, you see, like, first principles, man, I can talk about this for hours, like hours on end, man. But this is literally how billionaires think, I'm telling you. Another example is like Apple. Like Steve Jobs, what he found out is, like, at that time, computers and phones and, you know, technology was very, very complex and sophisticated and looked very boring and just looked very complex, right? But the first principle of Apple, in Steve Jobs' words, it's simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That's like one of the first principles of Apple, right? And if you look at like a MacBook, for example, or you know, you look at like the iMac or like the Macintosh, like the way they looked, like literally revolutionized technology. Because like computers back in the day were like massive, like the IBM computers like looked like bricks, literally. So when the Macintosh came out and it had like all these different features, like you could draw on it, you can make shapes on it, you can type on it, like, and it can literally speak to you. Like everyone bought it, and Apple became a beast. It became like a multi-trillion-dollar company because of that first principle. And because like Steve Jobs convinced people that those who buy Apple products, they are different, like think different. That's like the catchphrase of Apple since it started. It was like think different. So the people who buy Apple devices are like the 1%. They're like the rich people. They're like the high status, high value people. They're the people who are like against the status quo, right? So bro, like first principles, like bro, I can make like a video, like a 3-4 hour video about first principles, talking about them alone, honestly. Like this is literally, like, if you don't get it, this is literally how the smartest people in all of history think, is through these mental models, right? So yeah, first principles is one of the best mental models ever, right? Another one is thought experiments. And this is what scientists use before they make an experiment, right? A thought experiment is just an experiment in your brain, right? In your mind. Now I'm just gonna fix the camera here, but thought experiments, like imagine if LeBron James and Joe Rogan went in a basketball match, for example, right? Imagine if that happens. Who do you think would win? Like, probably LeBron James, of course, because Joe Rogan is not really good at basketball. He's very good at martial arts, but he's not really good at basketball, for example. But think about it, like, okay, what if that happened in 1 million times, right? How many times would LeBron James win? Like, probably most of the times, right? And if you did that, congratulations, you just did a thought experiment, right? It's just an experiment in your mind. And the thing is, your imagination is infinite. Your imagination is infinite. You could literally think of anything. You could have any experiment here, right? But if we think about, for example, like LeBron James versus Kevin Durant, okay, that's gonna be a bit harder because both are, I don't really know everything about basketball, but both are like one of the best players in the history of basketball. So if you did that like 1 million times, probably it would be like half and half, or maybe LeBron James would win a little bit more, right? Or maybe Kevin Durant would win a little bit more. It would be way more competitive, right? These are thought experiments, really. Now, the way to use thought experiments is basically, like, for example, if I went to the gym for 6 months, what would happen? Okay, I would build some muscle. I would look like really, really good. Now, what would happen if I went to the gym, ate clean, slept early for 10 years straight? I will probably have like a 0.001% physique out of the entire world, really. If you genuinely did that, right? Now, what if you did that in a million parallel universes. Like you see, like there's just no limit. Like you can do this with money as well. Like imagine if you, like let's say you've been building some muscle, right, and you start like a fitness YouTube channel, for example. Like what would happen if you kept posting and posting videos that solve problems for people, like how to train to failure, how to progressively overload, how to eat clean, how to track your macros, like just solving every single problem for your niche, right? What would happen in 6 months? Probably you wouldn't really grow that much. You probably have like 50 subscribers or something like that, right? But what about 12 months? Okay, you'll have 100 subscribers. But what about after 12 months? Like what about a year and a half? Okay, now you're gonna have like 1,000. What about 2 years? You're gonna have like 10,000, right? It's exponential. Now, what if you kept giving value in your niche, in your fitness niche, through content for 10 years straight? You will probably be a millionaire or a decamillionaire at that point. You see, this is how we use thought experiments, is using time frames, right? Another mental model is probabilistic thinking, right? Like the thing is, we always think in binary. Like binary is just thinking like absolutes. Like either this is true or this is false. Like either this works or this does not. Either this is good or bad. But that's a very naive way to think, because the universe doesn't work that way. The way the universe actually works is through probabilistic thinking. And this is also called non-binary reasoning as well. Like if you think about it this way, like let's use the gym example again. Like if I train to failure and progressively overload, I'll train 3 days a week, and I recover, I eat clean, I go to sleep early. If I do those 5 things for a year, what is the probability that I will have a very good physique? Probably like 80 or 90%. Like you have like a very high probability, right? Even higher, right? But if you do that, what is the probability that you will max out your genetic potential? Probably like 40 or 30%, right? Unless you're like a genetic freak, because of the time frame, because it's just 1 year, right? But if it was more than that, if you do that for like 10 years, what is the probability that you will fulfill all your genetic potential? Probably like 80%, right? So we think in terms of percentages, right? Instead of thinking like binary, like, so yeah, like another way to use probabilistic thinking is, like, for example, like most people, like society and cancel culture always do this. Like people are like for example, like, what do you think of Elon Musk, right? That's just like a question, right? Most people would say, either I absolutely love Elon Musk or I absolutely hate the hell out of Elon Musk. Like people always think in binary ways because that's just a simple answer. But the way you use probabilistic thinking is saying, okay, I agree with 80% of the things that Elon Musk says, and 20% of the things he says I'm skeptic towards. Like that's probabilistic thinking. And the thing is, that way you are thinking scientifically. You are thinking in a way that's aligned to the universe, right? Because that's like you're getting closer to the objective truth. Like, yeah, like Elon Musk. Like I absolutely love Elon Musk. By the way, I love him so much. Like I love reading about Elon Musk and the way he thinks. He is just a brilliant person. But yeah, like of course Elon Musk, like anyone, a lot of the things he says are right because he's intellectual and he's just absolutely brilliant. But some things he says are skeptical and maybe they're wrong, right? And you are aligning yourself with the universe. Does that make sense, right? So yeah, like those are the mental models, and there are like tons and tons of mental models like I can explain, but this is really, I just wanted to give you like a different perspective. Like, so many people think in this way that it's just very naive, right? But if you can learn to think through mental models and actually think like the greatest people across history, like, you will literally absolutely dominate everyone, really. All right, so yeah, this is how to think like the greatest people in history, and as always, we're in this together and we will make it.